Breakfast is supposed to be simple: the smell of toast, the warmth of coffee, and the comfort of beginning another ordinary day. But for me, that morning was the one that shattered the life I thought I had. I can still see the sunlight streaming through the curtains, hear the soft clinking of cutlery, and feel the chill that spread through my body when my husband looked up from his plate and said the words that broke me: "I want a divorce." At first, I thought I had misheard him. Divorce? After 15 years of marriage, after everything we had built, after all the nights we had whispered promises in the dark. My fork slipped from my hand, and I stared at him, searching for some sign that this was a cruel joke. But his face was calm, almost rehearsed. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even sad. He was just done. The silence between us was unbearable. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to ask the only question I could manage: why? His eyes shifted away, and that was the first time I noticed the guilt in them. The truth was there, written across his expression, even before his lips formed the words. He was in love with someone else. My world tilted. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw my coffee mug against the wall. But all I could do was sit there, frozen, listening as he explained how this other woman understood him, how she made him feel alive again. And then came the final dagger: she was pregnant. My heart splintered into pieces I wasn't sure I could ever gather again. Pregnant. He hadn't just betrayed me, he had built another life with someone else. I pushed back from the table, my appetite gone, my chest heavy with betrayal. I wanted him to leave right then, to vanish, but before I could even catch my breath, the sound of a knock echoed through the house. I opened the door, and there she was. The woman who had stolen my husband's heart stood in front of me, her hand resting protectively on her swollen belly. She looked nervous, almost apologetic, but her very presence felt like salt rubbed into my wounds. My husband scrambled to his feet, calling out her name as though I wasn't even standing there. The sight of them together, the man who once promised me forever and the woman carrying his child, nearly brought me to my knees. The next weeks blurred together. He moved out quickly, leaving behind his clothes, his cologne, and the echoes of our laughter in every room. Friends and family whispered, some offering pity, others judgment. I spent nights curled up on the couch, asking myself what I had done wrong, what I could have done differently to keep him. But slowly, painfully, I began to realize something: his betrayal wasn't a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of his choices. I threw myself into healing. At first, it was survival, forcing myself to eat, to shower, to step outside even when the world felt too loud and cruel. Then, it became rediscovery. I joined a book club, I started painting again, and I reconnected with friends I had neglected during the years I was wrapped up in being a wife. I learned to fill the silence of my home with my own laughter, my own music, my own strength. Months later, I ran into his mistress at the grocery store. She looked exhausted, juggling a newborn in her arms. Our eyes met, and for a fleeting moment, I saw no enemy, just another woman caught in a complicated web of choices. I didn't lash out. I didn't crumble. I simply nodded and walked on, realizing that I no longer carried the weight of bitterness on my shoulders. In the end, what began as heartbreak over breakfast became the catalyst for my rebirth. My husband may have walked out, but I walked forward. I learned that love doesn't define us, self-respect does. That morning, he ended a chapter, but he didn't end my story. If anything, he handed me the pen to write a better one. And so, to anyone listening who feels broken, who feels discarded, who feels unworthy because someone failed to see their value, know this: you are more than their betrayal. Heartbreak can feel like the end, but it can also be the beginning of a life where you discover your true strength. My story didn't end with a divorce. It began with me finally choosing myself.